How's it going, tankers, and welcome to another quick tank review. Yes, I know it's Sunday and I don't normally do a video on Sunday, but while the missus is away I'll play tanks all day. Happy days. Yeah, so here we go. KV-5. This was recently in the store again, and there's a lot more of them about now than there used to be. Same with most premiums actually. Tier 8 games are normally flooded with premium tanks at the minute, and this is a very popular one. And I've had quite a few questions about it, so I'm going to do a little review on it and see a little bit of gameplay afterwards. Anyway, so KV-5 Tier 8 Premium Russian Heavy Tank. Very strong, very heavy tank. Good for ramming, which you've probably seen in some of my recent videos. Anyway, so let's start with the best thing about this thing, the armour. Anyway, 180 on front of the hull and the turret, that is huge. 150 on the sides of the turret and the hull, that is also huge, and 140 on the back of both, and that is also humongous armour, especially at tier 8, and this thing will only meet 9s as well. As you can see from the top, it says plays up to tier 9, so you will never see tier 10 vehicles in this thing as long as you don't fail platoon with other tanks that do see tier 10s. Anyway, so yeah, the armour values are huge, but it's not quite as simple as that. There are some glaring weak spots, which most people know about anyway. The biggest one is these two droids on the front. The one on the left with the machine gun poking out, that's where the radio operator sits, and that is the most common place to get hit in this tank, because it's quite a big target and it's quite pronounced, and as long as you hit it on the front there's no vertical angling whatsoever. The other smaller droid, which looks like a knight's helmet sort of thing, that is where the driver sits. So although it's a smaller target, you should probably be trying to hit that one rather than the other one. The bigger one's obviously an easier target, but the radio operator, nobody ever fixes a radio operator. So if you kill the driver in the other smaller droid, you're going to have a lot more chance of dealing with the KV-5 successfully. And there's also another reason for that as well, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, what was that saying now? Unable to start narrator until... How do you turn that crap off? I'm getting really annoyed with it. Anyway, so the armour on this thing is huge, but you do have some glaring weak spots in the front. Also, the top of the turret, those things are very easily penned. The gunner sits under the bigger one, and the commander sits under the smaller one. So if you want to take out crew members, all you have to do is aim sort of for the sticky out bits, or for roughly underneath. Right, so hit zones as well. This tank unfortunately has two ammo racks. One is in the bit of the turret at the back that sticks out, so if you hit that part, there's a good chance of critting the ammo rack, or actually popping the ammo rack, although I've never seen a KV-5 get ammo racked yet. It'd be quite funny to see this huge turret fly off. Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's two ammo racks. The other one is underneath the turret in the hull, at the forward side of the turret, so sort of the second idler wheel back from the front is roughly where the second ammo rack is. This thing does get set on fire quite easily if you fire through the tracks at the rear behind the turret. That is where the fuel tanks are, and also the engine is obviously in the back here. So any shots through the back of the tracks or the back of the deck here, you've got a 13% chance of setting this thing on fire. So that's quite a high chance really. Not as high as some, but it's a lot more than some others. Yeah. So you know where to aim now. You can either go for the easy shot in the left hand droid and take out the radio operator. The harder shot on the right hand droid, take out the driver, which will make this thing pretty much impossible to move. And fuel tanks and ammo rack shots through the tracks, and also the back of the turret and the whole engine deck in it. Yeah, so although it's very heavily armoured, it's not too hard to deal with as long as the person who's driving it is not competent. KV-5s you see, they either do really well or they don't. Yeah, because it's a premium tank, so you never know who's driving them, so you must give them respect until you've figured out what sort of player they are. Right, so on to the gun, and probably the biggest letdown on the whole tank. Let's have a look. So you've got 107mm, this is 6M. This is basically a slightly improved version of the 107 used on the A44, the T150, blah blah blah, all of those. And this is a tier 8 vehicle that meets tier 9s. But if you think about it, the A44 at tier 7, the tier 7 Russian medium tank, that sees tier 9s, and it has this gun. And this tank only sees tier 9s, so it has this gun, so it's not as big of a problem as you would think it is. But you will need a fair stock of premium ammo for those tier 9 games, and penetration with standard rounds, the AP, is only 167mm, but a fairly nice 300 alpha damage. And premium rounds with the APCR go up to 219mm of pen and 300 alpha damage again. I mean, 219, it's not a massive figure, but it's more than an IS-6 gets. So you can see, although the standard AP rounds are pretty bad, the premium rounds are pretty good. And if you hit your shots with the premium rounds, you will still make money. With a premium account, you will still make a lot of money. And which is why premium tanks are so good. Anyway, rate of fire is actually pretty good. It makes up for the slightly lower alpha damage than, say, something like an IS-3 or something like that with 122mm. Yeah, so the rate of fire is 7 rounds a minute. It's not bad at all, actually. That's only 1 round a minute off a tier 8 medium tank. So it can put out the damage pretty quick. But the aiming time and the accuracy are pathetic, to be honest. 2.85 second aiming time, but the worst bit about it is the 0.43 accuracy. So you can see a lot of your money spent on premium rounds just whiz wherever they want to go, basically. So this is best played face to face. So onto the mobility. It has a 1200 horsepower engine, but it still only gives it just under a 12 brake horsepower per ton specific power, because this thing weighs, it has a weight limit of 105 tons. But that does make it very, very good at ramming, and I put a video out lately with a couple of rams in. Although I've not been able to ram anything big yet, I'm still trying. So track traverse is 18 degrees per second. That is pretty damn bad, but there's some hidden stats which make this thing even worse, and I'm just going to read them to you now. The ground resistances. On hard and medium terrain, they're not that bad. Hard is 1.26 and medium is 1.6, and 1.6 is normally what a soft terrain resistance would be on a medium. And the soft terrain resistance on the KV-5 is 2.86. Try, what's the name of them? Is it Lakeville? If you go up the back road on Lakeville into that soft boggy ground, this thing will drive worse than having a broken engine. And if you do have a broken engine and you're still trying to drive on soft ground, you will hardly move, and that is probably the worst thing about this tank. Right, so onto the turret. The turret does move a little bit quicker at 21 degrees a second, but the view range is quite poor. Typical Russian premium view range at 350. So I'll show you my equipment in a bit. Not everyone would agree with me on my equipment choices, but I would find they do work for me. And also, last thing there, signal range is pathetic at 440 meters. So if you do get your radio operator taken out, you've got to remember your signal range with him fully working is 440 meters. So I have no idea how much it goes down by, but if you've got a damaged radio operator, injured radio operator, just remember you're going to have pathetic signal range. So best not to get too far away from some of the friendlies. Right, so what equipment did I choose for this tank? Well, standard heavy tank for the first 2 slots. Large caliber tank rammer to bring your reload up 10%, and improved ventilation to bring up all the major crew skills by 5%, so mainly view range and reload. So with these, your rate of fire is actually decent. It's like a medium tank gun. And the third slot, what I tend to do, and I've explained before, is probably a good argument to run Vert Stabilizer Mark II. But because I play mostly on my own, I like to have the view range to be able to, well, not outspot enemies, but at least be able to spot an enemy the same time he spots me, and not just be a big, stupid, blind Russian tank driving around the battlefield. So that is my reasoning for that. But if you're in a platoon Probably vert stabs or gun lane drive, but definitely these two. You want to bring that DPM up and try and put out the damage as quick as you can. Anyway, so supplies, you can see on the big screen anyway, I do carry a healthy amount of premium. As you saw, the standard pen is pretty poor, 167, so you're going to need a fair few of these for some tier 8, tier 9 heavies. And also, the accuracy is that bad. If you only took 10, there's a good chance that only 5 are going to hit. And out of those 5, maybe 2 or 3 hit where you want to hit. So if you take 20, you might get maybe 10 that hit the target where you want to. And I do carry a couple of HEs in this. I mean, it's a 107mm gun. Anything over 100mm does tend to do a little bit of damage, and you can use that to finish off tanks and also for artillery. And I'll just carry standard consumables like normal. You may wish to choose a premium one, but I just do this for public lobbies. Anyway, so that's a quick look at that. Crew skills. Well, it's a premium tank, so your crew skills will depend on whatever tank you've taken the crew out of. I've got my IS-7 crew in this, so it's a heavy tank crew, so it's got your basic heavy tank skills, 6 Saints, Brothers in Arms, track mechanic repairs. Dead Eyes, questionable. That slot may be better used for something else, but firefighting definitely yes, snapshot definitely yes with Russian guns with air accuracy. And I'm training controlled impact, which is perfect for the KV-5, and I'm more training the controlled impact for the KV-5 when I use the IS-7 crew in it, rather than ramming stuff with the IS-7, because the IS-7 weighs about half of what the KV-5 does. Anyway, right, that's enough of that. Let's go and have a look at the armour in a bit more in depth on tanks.gg. Right, so here we go, tankers, looking at the KV-5 in tanks.gg. So you've probably all realised by now that the armour values stated in the Xbox console game are not always the full truth or the whole truth, but they're not far off. So the front, according to the Xbox, is 180, and the front plate is. Some of it is angled better than other bits, so upper plate, most tier 9s are going to bounce off that, even without angling. Let's angle it as well, look at those numbers. Godlike. Front part is very, very steep though, look at the angle on that. Very steep. So most tier 8s going to be able to pen there, but tier 7s, tier 6s don't even bother, and the very lower portion is extremely well angled. There we go. Right, so where do you want to aim for the front of the hull? Well, you can see the radio operator's droid is only 120mm, and the front of it's very square, so any tank this thing can meet is going to be able to go through there. Don't aim for the sides though, because it's still 120, but the angling is huge, so people are still going to get trolled by that. So the radio operator sits there, you hit there, you kill the radio operator. Not the biggest of dramas, but this is a driver's hatch. It's slightly thicker, it's 180mm at the front, but the angling is fairly steep, so the numbers are not particularly big. So tier 8, you want to be aiming for this one instead of this one really, to guarantee a driver shot. And once this thing gets its driver shot, like I said, the ground resistances aren't good at all. The track traverse, even with a fully working engine, is not good at all, so if you can kill the driver, you're going to be able to make mincemeat out of this thing. Yeah, KV-5 drivers are probably cussing me now for telling everybody this. Anyway, so console said 180mm on the turret, and it is on the front of this part here, but it's very, very steep, so the numbers it produces are not that much more than 180mm anyway. So all of this triangle here, but not the gun mantlet, that's 180. Gun mantlet is pretty thick in places, but there are a couple of spots where it's not that thick. So if people are aiming for this and they miss, they might still go through here anyway, but this whole zone here, some big numbers apart from, again, the very beak is not that thick at all. So although most of the turret is going to troll people, there are a few places where the odd lucky shot is going to go through anyway. Probably break your gun, probably kill your loader and gunner that sit here, and your commander that sits under this hatch here. So, like I said, hatches, 150mm, fairly well angled, so it's quite a small target as well, so the majority of them are going to bounce off, but this one's a lot steeper, and the numbers aren't particularly big. So you're going to be able to penetrate through there as well. So a couple of weak spots on the front. Let's have a look at the side. Right, so side of the turret, it's all 150mm, not particularly well angled, so most tier 7s and above are going to be able to go straight through there. Big old target as well. Side of the hull, most of the engine decking is exposed above the tracks, so that's a good place to aim, and there is a little part here. Go through there, you're going to do the turret ring, and you can still see the side of the droids from the side as well. The track model is the same as the KV-4. Most of it is 150mm with 20mm of the space, which is the tracks, but there are 3 rectangles through here. And they are quite important because through this one, the back half of this rectangle is ammo rack. Remember, it has 2 ammo racks. One is here, one is here, and then the rest of the back of these 2 holes is fuel tanks and engine. So if you can get shots through there and here, it's a good chance of setting a fire. It's a 13% fire chance on this tank. So every 100 shots that get fired in the back here, 13 of them are going to start a fire. Back of the tank is still nice and thick. 140mm, even though it's not very well angled. Oh, that's not good, didn't notice that. Although it's not very well angled, it's not bad for the back end of a tank, and normally when people see your arse end, it's normally like that angle anyway, so the lower portion do not aim for the upper portion, which is only 90mm. I didn't know that, to be honest. Yeah, so if you're looking at the back of a KV-5 or a KV-4, shoot at the upper part. Anyway, back of the turret, still 140mm, not very well angled, but again, for the back of a turret, that is still pretty strong. There are some green areas for artillery to ruin your day. 40mm there, 40mm there, and there, and there. And it's quite a big tank. So that's a big old target for the scumbags to hit. Yeah, never mind. Right, so that's about all you need to know here. I think, yeah, it's talked about where the ammo racks are, which are here and here. Fuel tanks, engine, also radio operator, driver, gunner and loaders, commander. And that's about all you need to know. Right, so we've had a quick look around the tank. We've seen the armor's pretty good apart from the droids. So either reverse side scraping, turn your turret back here. Can I do that? Yeah. Let's put the turret looking at us. Side scrape backwards. This is a good tactic in this tank, as long as you put the wall there to hide your weaker part of the upper rear hull. Look at these numbers. Godlike. Absolutely godlike. Even against tier 9s. The only weakness you're going to show is this part of the turret, but that's still a very, very small target. Anyway, so you can side scrape this thing from the front, but it's quite hard to hide the droids. Let's put it about there. Side scrape that way, so if you've got your gun showing there, you're still exposing a little bit of droid, a little bit of your weak turret, and if you side scrape this way, you can get away with a slightly steep, shallower angle from this side because that big droid's hidden. God, this is hard to line up. Anyway, yes, you can get away with a slightly smaller angle there, but still godlike figures. Apart from the side of the turret again. Anyway, and you can't hide that, so no matter which way you side scrape, you're always going to be exposing this small triangle of 180mm. But if you get good matchmaking, that's still 180mm, and a lot of tier 7s, tier 6s are never going to penetrate you. And that is why this tank's so good. So let's go and have a look at some gameplay now, and see if I can put into action all the little things we've just talked about.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base.
Right, here we go, tankers, KV-5 on Airfield War. The war maps tend to be pretty good for the KV-5 because there's extra stuff lying around, extra little barriers and bits of blown up dirt and stuff like that. Anything you can use to cover up those two droids on the front. I can see you saving your hit points, and what you want to do in this tank is save your hit points for the second half of the game. If you lose them all at the start, you don't have that hit point pool to be able to do something a little bit more risky later on in the game. And this doing well in this tank is all about hiding those droids, side scraping, not sitting still for too long. I know you have really bad aim time, but you can't sit still for too long, so you have to know how to manage an inaccurate gun, if you know what I mean. You have to know work out what it's going to do before it's done it. Anyway, so here we go. Also, I picked this video as well because in a minute I come up against a enemy KV-5, and we do take him to score a little bit. So yeah, 2 for the price of 1 in this video. You can see how to do well in a KV-5 and how not to. Oh, and I just remembered there is a ram in this video too, which is nice.
Releasing target.
Enemies Panthers, you go in YOLO straight from the start.
Unlocking target.
Right, you see that I'm moving in between shots. There is an artillery on the enemy team, I'm a bit worried about it. And the bloom's not too bad as long as you don't move the turret too much. So if you can imagine, if you did run vert stabs on this tank, it would be 20% better than this. But like I prefer the view range, and that's just totally my choice. I think we got the initial spot on that guy and a assist point out of that, which you might not have done without the optics. Right, so that's an IS-6 and a KV-5, so I swapped to premium. Oh, and a KV-2. So I took a hit there. I think it was off artillery. Or the KV-2 probably, actually, with a high explosive round, and he damaged my turret ring. That's not something I want, is a damaged turret ring when you've got particularly low track traverse and fairly low turret traverse. Anyway, premium rounds, the IS-6 is exposing his lower plate. So premium rounds, even with standard rounds actually, you would have a job with an IS-6 all round. But with the premium rounds, you do have acceptable head. Right, here we go. There we go. That KV-5. Forgot to mention earlier, I think, this thing has 7 degrees of gun depression. That is more than most Russian tanks. So that spot there he's using isn't, even though it has 7 degrees of gun depression, it's not good enough. And he is giving me shots. Could make the shot on that droid with standard rounds, but you would have to be extremely careful with your aim. And remember, it's .43 accuracy, and even that short range, a standard round on the droid would mean if it moved left or right and hit the side of the droid, it would not penetrate. So I'm sticking with me premium rounds.
They found us.
Here we go, he's going to do it again, and we get another one into him. He's probably going to need 2 more shots to finish him off.
Reloading.
Right, so now I'm losing my advantage. I am showing my droid. And there we go, take a hit. It's probably in the droid.
Nice shot. Target locked.
And we take another hit. See, if you expose the droid, your hit points disappear very quickly. Right, watch this, watch this. Boom. Only hit him for 100, but it's still 100 I didn't have to do with the gun. Aiming in, fire, hit him, bang, finished him off with the ram, and the KV-5 has been taken out by somebody else.
Tracks up. Let's go.
And that's why I'm training a what's it called, controlled impact on my IS-7 crew, because that's the crew I use in this tank. So I don't want to be spending 10 gold every time I want to play this tank to switch it over, switch a crew skill to controlled impact, so I'm just training controlled impact. So you can even ram equal tiered heavy tanks. Probably not a good idea to ram another KV-5, unless you do have controlled impact on, and then you will come off slightly better.
Gun loaded.
Right, so on to the cleanup now. This was pretty much a whitewash. Those two tier 8 premium heavy tanks pretty much gifted me their hit points there. The IS-6 was exposing his lower plate, and he also wasn't angling. And the KV-5 kept exposing the droids. Oh, just got there, just a spot too late to take down that guy. I think we're actually going to not get any more out of this game, but 17 penetrations, a couple of kills, and a couple of rams mixed in there. So let's have a look at the results. Wow, there's some op experience there. Not op experience, op silver bonuses there, but still 272,500 silver, and that's why I always combine my silver ops whilst using a premium tank, and that's how you can make some serious money in this tank, and that's what I recommend you do. Only turn on the silver ops to play premium tanks, and then switch on the experienced ops when you want to grind some tanks, and that's kind of the way you should do it. Anyway, there we go. Decent amount of base experience, couple of kills, but 4,500 damage in a short period of time, and we definitely carried that team to victory. And we took out probably two of the most dangerous tanks on their team, the KV-5, who was exposing his droid all of the time, and that IS-6, which was giving me his lower plate and letting me ram him as well, which was fun. Well, there we go, guys. Nice bit of gameplay. Back to the garage just to sum this tank up. So there we go, tankers. We've had a good look through the KV-5. We've seen the armor profile in tanks.gg. The majority of it is very, very strong for its tier, apart from a few glaring weak spots, but they're put in so lower tiered tanks actually have a chance to do some damage against you. Otherwise it would be extremely unfair. Yeah, without the droids, especially tier 7s, tier 6s would not stand a chance against you. But even with those weak spots, if you can manage them, you can still be the god on the battlefield in this tank, and it's one of the better tier 8 premiums in the game. I definitely prefer it to the 112, which was a shame because I paid twice as much for the 112. Excuse me. Yeah, the 112 is a good tank, but just not as good as this. And I'm going to look forward to training up some Russian crews in this thing and earning some serious silver. Obviously in that game you just saw a lot of the silver was from op bonuses, but that's what I would do. Let me just have a look. So what have we got today? 1.5 times silver for winning 2 battles in a row. So if you could do that on a premium tank, you're going to be earning 1.5 times premium silver. So I always do my silver ops with premium tanks first, and then go on to do the experience ops on the tanks that I'm driving. So imagine if you add that one 1.5 with that one 1.5, and you managed to get a top gun on your second battle win. You can just imagine how much silver you can make, and that is what you should be doing, looking for ways to improve your profitability. And also the experience ops are a good way to speed up your grind, so I would separate them if I was you. Just a little tip there. Anyway, KV-5, so not bad all around. I think I paid 6,750 gold for this thing recently, and I'm very glad I did. Like I said, it was half the price of the 112, and it's possibly the better tank. Anyway, there we go. Enough of me babbling on. Hope you enjoyed the review. Hope you found it informative. If you've got a KV-5 and you're struggling, I hope this review gives you a few tips on how to play it better. If you're looking to buy this KV-5, I don't think it's in the store anymore, but if it comes up next time, maybe this video is going to make you want to buy it. Yeah, so please give the vid a like if you did, guys. It does help me out, and also sub if you're not. It would be nice to see you back at the channel in the future, and I'll catch you tomorrow with another video. Right, cheers guys, catch you on the next one. See you later.